welcome. Just a little bit about myself. My name is Chris. I'm one of the trainers here. So I said this already to a few of you, but I'm originally from Warwick, Rhode Island in the US. Anyone know where Rhode Island is on a map? I ask in the States because everyone thinks I'm part of New York. We're not. We're New England. We're an hour south of Boston. But I've been here in Canada for 3 years. So this is my beautiful wife and my daughter. She just turned 1 back in February. I've been here 3 years. I came because my wife is a Montrealer herself. My first job in Canada was at Royal Montreal. I was on the grounds crew there. So it was my first English job I could find as I was learning French. And then I got free golf. So that was, I was in. So I'm a competitive golfer. Growing up with my dad was a golf pro, still is, but growing up about that tall, going to professional tournaments, I was a little less interested in the game when I was younger, but I got the bug later on in life. Now I'm a competitive golfer. A little bit more about him, just because whenever I bring him up, everybody asks. So he was a teacher, but he played in 4 PGA Tour events in his career. He never got his tour card. He was 1 shot away at Q School a couple of times. He went 8 or 9 times, if not more. I forget the exact number back in the day, but this is in the 80s. This is a newspaper article. One of the times he didn't quite make it. Anybody know who Dana Quigley was or is? So he was more famous for the senior tour. He won a lot of events there. He was on the PGA Tour, but I'd say this is probably the highlight of my dad's career. He won the Rhode Island PGA chapter, beating Dana Quigley after he had some playing in his group after he had some publicity there. So a lot of pressure on him. He shot 66, 67 at Rhode Island Country Club. It's Brad Faxon's home course, but just a little fun fact there. Everyone always asks. So, because he's, there's different levels of, some people teach as a pro, some people play, and he definitely was a high level competitor out there, but he was never on the tour, but he was out there. More about me. So I'm a NASM certified personal trainer. I'm a certified functional strength coach, certified stretching coach, and I'm certified power level 2 from the Titleist Performance Institute. So what is a fit golf swing? I like TPI's philosophy. So their philosophy is that there are an infinite number of ways to swing a golf club. However, there is one most efficient way for each player to swing a club, and it's based on what they can physically do. So it's not about your swing's better than your swing's better than your swing. What's the perfect swing? It really depends on what they can physically do, right? So just as a couple examples here, everyone know who John Rahm is? Yeah, very short, laid off, meaning like leaning this way in the backswing. Anybody know why he has that swing? There's actually one specific reason, actually. So he has a clubbed right foot he was born with. So it was like inwardly rotated. And because of that, he doesn't have as much ankle mobility. But he's one of the longer hitters out there. So with that short backswing, he's able to squeeze a lot into that swing. How about Jim Furyk? Anyone know the former captain of the President's Cup 2024 International? Yeah, not a swing that you really want to be coaching people. But it worked for him, right? He won on tour. He was going head-to-head with Tiger back in his prime, right? So it's not about like whether John Rahm's swing was better or worse than Jim Furyk's. That works for both of them in different ways. It's about what's going to work best for you based on what you can do, right? So today, the 5 keys I'm discussing are going to be assessments: mobility, strength, power, and mechanics. So those are the 5 keys we're talking about. So what gets in the way of having a fit golf swing? What do we think? Any ideas?
Trainers.
What was it? Trainers, okay. Fair. What else? What else we have? Anyone? Mobility, good one. Anybody else? No right or wrong answers here. Maybe more right. Balance, okay, great one. Anybody else? Mental, absolutely. Injuries, that's a big one. Okay, so perfect example, because that's what I wanted to start with. All those are very valid, and we'll talk about those. So let's talk about injuries in golf. The average golfer has less than ideal posture, right? Most of us are sitting for at least some portion of the day. Even me, I'm fortunate enough to be on my feet now, like training people here at the gym. But I'm still sitting, I'm driving here, right? I'm going to be on my desk at home later. We all typically have these little phones where, our heads tilted forward. 15 to 41% of amateur golfers report injuries yearly. It's a high number, right? 28% of golfers have back pain when golfing. One of the questions that a lot of you had was talking about different injuries that you've had, specifically back pain. I had a couple people talk about their knees. 31 to 90% of pros report injuries each year. For them, that's more of a volume and how much practice and play they're getting versus like their swings are usually pretty good. But even then, if you like Jason Day comes to mind, Tiger, they both had a lot of back surgeries done because of how much torque they're putting onto their body. So it is very demanding on the body. Like people don't think about that, and like when they tell them I'm a golfer, oh okay, so you're out there having fun, nice and easy. Oh, if you swing hard, you're putting a lot of work in. A majority of these injuries are overuse in nature. So this happens when an area is exposed to a stress that it can't tolerate over an extended amount of time. How many people can relate to this? So somewhere hurts from golf. You use painkillers to ice and numb the pain. You try sucking it up. The pain gets worse. You're forced to take time out. Maybe no rehab's undertaken. Maybe you do some rehab. The pain reduces. The golfer jumps straight back to the previous level of play that we're at. We're expecting, we should be able to just go right back to it. The issue returns and the cycle continues. Anyone relate to that? I've certainly been there. I've had golfer's elbow before. So going back to our keys, the first key that we're going to talk about is assess. So I think that's a good leeway into it with the injuries because many amateur injuries are a result of bad technique. So if you haven't recorded your swing, it's not a fun process. It's not pleasing to see for the person. Like, I do that? What is that? That looks like that? What am I doing here? So getting a lesson from a golf pro is highly recommended. Definitely a game changer, especially now that we have like video cameras, we have TrackMan simulators we can go on. Very helpful to see, even from an injury standpoint, just what you're doing that may or may not be contributing to things that hold you back. So on the personal training side, what I can offer is a TPI physical screen. This is a comprehensive physical assessment. Okay, it assesses flexibility, strength, balance, and stability. It helps identify strengths and limitations that affect swing mechanics, and it helps trainers like me to be able to address specific needs that golfers have. So this is just an example. This is one of the trials I did, so I just named it test client, but you can see the different tests. There's 16 movements on the movement screen, and you can see here, it gives you a golf fitness handicap. So based on the portions of the exam that they failed, they would have like a 10 handicap. So 10 isn't scratch, it's not a plus handicap, but it's not bad, right? It could be worse. Some of us here might be happy to be a 10 handicap on the golf course, right? But it's definitely like, you can see there is a lot of green, but there's a lot of room for improvement there still. And this is what it also can show you. So based on the results of the screen, you can see different swing faults that you're prone to. So here we just have slide. So that's when you're sliding too far forward, loss of posture, you're losing your spine angle, early extension, your butt hikes up too early, sway, different ones, S posture, casting, swooping, chicken winging. There's more, there's a whole list of them. It'll show you how likely you are to have those improper swing mechanics based on the result of the physical screen. So a really awesome thing to have done. So before I get into like the training components of there, first things first is my number one rule as a trainer is to do no harm, right? So the best way to have you swinging your best is to make sure you're not taking time off, right? We're not getting hurt in the process. And we don't want to build a foundation that's built on dysfunction. So the order of our priorities really should be, as golfers, myself including, trying to get better, and even if we're being more elite, doesn't matter. Mobility, strength, then power. So I'm not going to be working on strength if I don't have the proper mobility to do things. It doesn't mean you can't do strength exercises that fit your mobility limitations, but we're not going to be jumping ahead and bringing injury into play here. And then the same thing with power. Power especially. We want a solid foundation of strength before we get into power. So the second key is mobility. So the definition I'm going to be using today is the ability to move freely. So this differs from flexibility because it's the range of motion that you can actually use, right? So the difference would be if you use one of our stretching machines like the hamstring machine, you can swing your leg up. Well, you're using some assistance to get you there, right? The difference would be, this would be mobility because I can physically lift my leg how high, right? I can probably go higher with flexibility. So we're going to use that definition of it. Some of the common problem areas in the upper body, we have weak deep neck flexors, okay? We have weak lower trap muscles here in the lower, upper back there, and serratus anterior. We have tight upper traps. Anyone feel tight in their upper traps, holding their tension there? Very common with a lot of my clients, right? We have tight pecs, okay? On the other side, you have, for the lower body, I should say, you have tight erector spinae muscles there along your spine. You have tight iliopsoas. You can just think hip flexors. I always tell clients just the front of our hips can get very tight. We have weak butts for the most part, right? Those are harder to activate our glutes. And we have weak abdominals in general. So like if you're having some of those double cross syndromes. So like a lot of us have that to an extent, even myself, like there's things that will kind of slowly prop up if I don't put enough attention to it. So in general, the concept is we want to stretch those tight muscles and we want to strengthen the weak muscles. Who wants to jump into one of my TPI screens here to go over one of those? Anyone, can I have any other volunteer that wants to try? Anybody? It's okay, it's your free chance for the TPI. You want to come? Come on up. What's your name? Linda. Okay. So I'm just going to grab, you can stand right there. So we have here, I have a tape lined up. So this is just 60 degrees. So step to the side just for a second. I'm going to step inside here just so I can demonstrate, show you what I want you to do. So what we're going to do is we're going to test how much internal and external hip rotation she has. So this is just 60 degrees. If you wanted to try this on yourself, you could use a 6-iron. The lie angle on the 6-iron is usually around 60 degrees. So you can take another club and line it down there and try this yourself. So we're going to hold this implement here. You're going to put all your weight on one foot, okay? I want you to turn and see how far you turn. So what we're looking for is like I'm right at that line. So there could be some improvement there for myself. But we want to see maybe she can't get there. Maybe it's like less than that 60 degrees, right? And then we're going to turn this way. So on the backswing, I'm fine on my lead leg. I'm a right-handed golfer. So try the same side. The same thing on the other side, I should say. Just hold that out there. Is that going to be equal, more, or less than 60 degrees? In both directions there. So you can just hold that on your hips and try that out. Doesn't matter which side you start with. Excuse me there. Yep, no, you're fine. It's my fault. So, yep, so this back foot is going to be back. All the weight's on that front leg. I'll stand here just in case you need your balance. Good. Very good rotation there. Then we're going to turn right into the other side. No, leave the same foot how it is. It's okay. Good. Very good. Yep. So now we're going to put our right foot forward and the left foot back. Yep. You're going to switch it around. Yeah, I'm going to stand on this side. I gotcha. Good. And then so the only thing is you got to keep this in the front of your hips. Yep. We don't have that much range, so it's. Oh, sorry. It's okay. So it's going to stay on your hip bone. Yeah. I think I did that last time. It's okay. We can retry the other side. Okay. Yeah, so I usually I got some belt loops. What I like to do with my clients for the TPI screen, ask them to come in, and if they can wear something like I have these fit golf pants. Is that holding it properly like that? Yep. There you go. Well, no, so you're still turning. Okay. You're okay. So not quite there, right? Yep. You're okay. And try the other side again just to retest. Yeah, I didn't do it right. Yep. That was a lot, but yeah. Yeah, good. Keep it there. Yeah. I'm also not usually presenting this at the same time. So there's that element too. But yep, there you go. Perfect. So you can stay up here. I'll take that from you. You can just stand up. Now we're going to keep that there. So one of the exercises we can do, if that was something that you guys struggled with, it's up to you. You want to try the exercise too? Okay. Does it show what the result is? But so you're pretty good. So you're right around. It's okay. So you weren't as mobile as you thought you were. Okay, but no, you're pretty good. And honestly, women with wider hips, it's usually a better thing. So I'll demonstrate first. So I'm gonna have you sit. We're gonna go into a V position here. These are called hip distractions. Okay. So what I want you to do is we're gonna start on one side. Okay. You're going to push that heel out, and these are called windshield wipers. So I'm pulling that toe towards myself, and I'm fighting to keep going further as I can. So if you're just here going like this, you're not going to get much. So the idea is we're pushing. You feel like you're unscrewing your hip, okay, as you go and turn each time. We go for 30 seconds. We'll try 30 seconds the other side. And normally there's different positions. You could repeat the same thing with the hands down, okay, left and right. Baseball position, left and right. And the final one would be leg crossed. And so depending on where you're tight, that's going to dictate which one's better for you. You can try all of those out. Try that out there. I saw you, they don't. Okay, you don't want to try it? It's okay. You don't want to try it? It's okay. Anybody else that wanted to try it? Well, but are you going to say what it means? What is it? So this is if you have less rotation in the hips there, based on that result, and so you could use a little bit of improvement, but that's helpful for you to try that. Okay. So it's up to you. You don't want to, it's okay. Okay. Thank you for give her a round of applause, everybody. So the next one would be called a seated trunk rotation. Anyone want to try that one? Any volunteers? Free chance? Want to try? Come on up. So this one, I'm going to get this set. You can have a seat right there. And again, you can try to set this up at home. What I'm doing is I'm creating a 90-degree angle here. Okay, with 2 alignment sticks. You can really use anything. I'm just creating the triangle towards her. And this is going to be the guideline to how far she can turn. What she's going to do is she's going to turn her shoulders each way. I'm going to get you one of my club shafts. Okay, so you can hold that behind your back like you're squatting with it. Yep, exactly. The main thing too is try not to like bend the shaft because I need it, but no. No, just because if you bend it, it's going to cheat a little bit. Okay, so what I want you to do is try to turn to the left. Okay. Yep, as far as you can. So if you look at the shaft, it's breaking this plane here. So that means that she has greater than 45 degrees. That's perfect. You can turn to the right. And it's the same thing on that side. So I'm looking at it. It's like a little bit more than that 45 degrees. So that's perfect. She would have passed that. So I'll take that from you. If she didn't pass that, and you can try this as well. So we're going to hold the same thing. Okay. We're going to turn on the stability ball here, and we're going to dip. So when we dip, we got a little bit more range as we go each time. So we're going to try to turn the shoulders, side bend. See, I get a little bit more range each time I turn. You want to try that out? You have a seat on the ball? Yep. If you don't have a ball at home, you can use something else that you can sit on. So you're going to turn, side bend, come back up, turn more. But no, you're still going this way. Yeah, so turn, side bend, come back up, and right into the more turn. So you can't, yeah, so you still got a little bit more, and then turn again right away. See how you got like a little bit more each time? Just 3 times. So turn left, side bend left, come back up, more left, side bend, more left. Perfect. Yep, it's just 3 times really. And you got a little bit more in that last one, so you can push it like that 4th, but don't go if there's any like sharp pain or anything like that. But that's one way to improve your thoracic mobility there. So really your thoracic spine that gets impinged there or tight when you're not able to turn. Thank you, everyone. Give her a round of applause. Okay, so getting back into mobility. Just gonna put these guys back. So we want to implement a short mobility routine before workouts and before playing golf. So these should really be 10 to 15 minutes. You don't want to be more than 15 minutes. If you're doing more than 15 minutes, that's a workout itself, right? So the goal is to get ourselves ready for a workout, ready for a round of golf. Step 2 would be spend 10 to 15 minutes, 2 to 3 times a week working on passive range of motion. So this could be after a workout. This could be at night before bed. I personally like doing it like a nighttime routine depending on where I'm tight for the week. I kind of go through my exercises, depending on, try to hit each portion that typically gets tight with me, make sure I'm putting in the work. So again, 15 minutes or less for that pre-round workout. And you want to start, if you're going to do foam rolling, I always like to start with foam rolling and then get into stretching. So some principles for foam rolling. You want to find a roller that is firm enough for you. You want to aim for a 6 out of 10 intensity. So the key here is we're really not trying to dig in too much. So back when foam rolling was getting really popular, there was like some misconceptions about what the purpose is. For our purpose, like getting ready for a workout or a round of golf, like we're just trying to lightly groove over the muscles, okay? So if you dig too deep, it's okay if you're doing that for the purpose of releasing something, but the problem is like if we're trying to get loose, you might just get yourself more tight if you're digging in, right? So, and your nervous system just like can tense up, and that's why you also want to make sure that you're breathing properly. So nice controlled, I like to say 4-4 pattern is perfect for stretching. 4-8's more for that longer period, but make sure you're breathing so your nervous system doesn't tense up and then your muscles get tighter as a result. We want to get looser, right? So,
say you do your foam rolling at home, then you get in the car, you drive 20 minutes to the golf course, you get your bag out, everything, it's an hour later.
Yeah, so, and I was in that situation, so I was telling other people, so I got 9 holes in a couple weekends ago, but so for me, I'll still do it at home. Obviously, the longer the ride is, like the more that's going to kind of wear off. But for me, it's like, okay, whatever I can get in is going to be better than nothing. And I'll give you something. So if there's nothing else like available to you, and this is depending on your abilities, what I'd like to do if I'm on a course, right, because it's a little awkward, you're going to get into a squat position, reach down with your hand. You can turn out. This way, we're working on hip mobility and spine mobility. You might still get a couple looks on the practice screen or the first team, but that's something you can do. Anything's better than nothing, right? But for me, like I would still like try to work on that. Yeah, that's it. Do it at home. You're still going to be better off than if you hadn't done it, right? So that's my philosophy. But yeah, so again, for your pre-workout stretching principles, similar concept. We're going to hold 30 seconds to a minute, okay? Usually it's going to be closer to 30 seconds for me. If something was really tight, that minute could come into play. Over a minute, you're going to start fatiguing yourself before you work out a little bit too much for my liking there. But same thing, 6 out of 10 intensity, 4-4 or 4-8 breathing pattern. So this is just a video I had on YouTube, just going over it. Does anybody want to try foam rolling with me? It's okay. You'll get the idea here. So I just like to start rolling from the calves, okay? And I just work my way up. So I go from calves to hamstring. I like to go 5 times in each spot. What I'll do, you'll see it in the video, like I'll internally rotate my hip so that gets the outside of the calf. I'll internally rotate, it gets the inside of the calf. Obviously, you're going to do it on both sides. I'm just doing one side there. Big thing with hamstrings is like a lot of people, we need a lot more pressure to like kind of feel anything. So I'll put my leg up like you see in the video. If that's too much for you, don't put your leg up. You know, it's just kind of take what you can, what works for you and what doesn't. Just cut it out. I'm just working up. You get the idea. I'm just going up through my lats. And then for the stretching, one of my favorites here is I call it 90-90. So you do it on both sides. You're leaning into that front hip for 30 seconds. You're pushing that front knee down into the ground. You're trying to keep your chest up and pull your upper body in the opposite direction. In the video, my body would want to pull me more towards the left if I have less mobility. I'm fighting to go right. And then after that 30 seconds, you lean backwards into that back leg. A lot of us will still feel that back leg even on the front when we're focusing there, but that's a great stretch to do. Okay, so post-workout, like I mentioned, so that's that second part of the mobility aspect, that 10 to 15 minutes outside of your workouts. Here, you can hold 2 to 5 minutes. I wouldn't recommend going longer than 5 minutes. Like some yoga poses will hold for longer than that. That ends up being some strengthening. If that's your goal, it's fine. But 5 minutes for stretching and mobility purposes is on the longer side. So usually it's 2, maybe 3 minutes for some of these stretches. 6 out of 10 intensity, 4-4, 4-8 breathing pattern like the others. And these are just some of my favorite stretching poses that I had from my stretching certification. So these are pretty much the ones that I use like week to week. Those are all lower body versions, but those are very helpful. Key number 3, we're getting into strength now. So for strength, I want you to think about strength as a golfer as the engine of your golf swing. When you're training for a specific sport or athleticism, in our case golf, it can be helpful to think of training movements versus training muscles. We want to aim to train all types of movement patterns to be well-rounded. This is really the philosophy that I carry into most of my clients. I might have clients that have specific goals outside of that, and I just kind of work that in. So some like my female clients, maybe they want to grow their booty a little bit. Men, we like to puff out our chest. Those are fine. You can still do that. But at some point, as you start emphasizing other muscles, you might find it gets in the way of your golf swing a little bit, right? If your chest's too big, I think that happened to Tiger a little bit. He wanted to be like an athlete a lot. He probably would have been better off not so big. Like Rory wasn't trying to chase his bench press record there. He's been able to be pretty good with it. But yeah, just keep that in mind. As you start doing more specific stuff, it might make you less efficient in other ways. So this is the different patterns that I like to work through. So we got hip dominant, okay? Think of like deadlifts, hip thrusts, things like that. For knee dominant, we got squats, leg presses. You also have some hamstring work that like is good for extension. For horizontal push, think bench press, push up. As an example, I'm sure there's some people here that can't do a push up. What I do with clients is I'll use like a Smith machine. So I have a bar, they're still able to do a push-up motion, but we're elevated. So it's scaled to you so you can work on it. Same thing with horizontal pull, we got bent rows.
Are we getting a copy of this?
No, but you can feel free to take notes if anything. And you can ask me a question at the end. I'll be happy to tell you what it was if you want. Then going into, we have vertical push, vertical pull. For vertical push, something like a landmine press. So that's like where you're in like a lunge position. We have several attachments you could put a bar in. You don't have to use that bar. You can just use a light dumbbell. But the idea is, especially if you have some shoulder issues in the past, pushing your hand not directly above where the scapula can kind of impinge things in the shoulder. I do this because I've had shoulder issues. And so here I'm still working on that shoulder motion, and I'm not like putting the shoulder joint as much risk as if I was going straight over my head. Okay, so those are great to do. Vertical pull, we got pull up, lat pull downs. Same thing with like the push up. If you can't do a pull up, there's different things to use to like get there. I like to do dynamic single leg, half kneeling, lat pull downs with the cable machine, things like that. For core, we have anti-flexion, so think planks. Anti-rotation would be chops and lifts, which we'll get into a little bit more. So another disclaimer there with core, just like the what I discussed about training certain groups of the body more than the efficiency movements that we're talking about. Things like crunches might not be ideal for you if you're already dealing with hip tightness, right? Because then you're lifting your leg up. They're okay to work the abs, but you're also creating more tightness in the hips at the same time. So if you've ever felt that way when you're doing crunches and things like that, or a crunch machine, that's why. So as a golfer, I'm usually doing more planks to like kind of work on that extension, anti-flexion, right? So here's some must for any golfer strength program. We want to train balance, stability. We want to make sure we're doing single leg movements. Who here has done any golf specific training in the past? Anybody? Okay, cool. And that's the thing. It's growing a lot in the industry, but a lot of us haven't worked on these things. Who here has done single leg movements in the past? Could be a split squat, single leg RDL. A couple of us. Okay, more people have done that. That's good. So definitely a must. I used to be able to do a pretty strong, just barbell RDL, right? I tried, so at least 2 plates for me, and I tried to do a single leg version, and I'm struggling. I'm going here. Oh my gosh, I'm horrible with like a 5-pound weight. So very challenging if you haven't worked on it. There's different muscles there. There's 3 planes of motion instead of 1. So very important if we're trying to be balanced in our golf swing to incorporate these balance components and stability. Glutes and core. So glutes are very helpful for stabilizing as well. I've heard they're the king of the golf swing. That's what they talk about at Titleist. So very important muscle to make sure you're training. And then another key thing, if we're going to do things, like we'll get into it a little bit more, but if we're doing something like as a right-handed golfer, I'd be working in this direction. We want to make sure we're doing in the opposite direction and going this way. Maybe some of us, has anyone done stuff only in the swing direction that you play in? It's okay if you have, I've done it. Yeah, so we're just more at risk of injury. And then we're also, because there's accelerators and deaccelerators in the golf swing, we're not giving ourselves the optimal training experience that way. I just lost my remote. There we go. Okay. Who here can't touch their toes? Who here can't touch their toes and wants to demonstrate? You want to demonstrate, Alan? Come on up.
I can't.
Okay. That's okay. That's perfect. So you want to step over here just so people can see you a little bit better?
You want to put a little box?
No. Just so it's like, I'm going to see what you have first. Okay. So in the TPI screen, what I have people do is stand with their feet together. Okay. They have to like keep their legs or their knees extended back there, and you're going to reach down as far as you can. Okay. He says he can't, but he's pretty good. That's like that for not being able to. That's pretty good. So what I like to do there. So we have this RX pad for someone who can't. We're going to do 2 different things. So I'm going over here because you're here. I'll demonstrate first. So I like to do heel elevated. And we're working here. And one cue I like to use is for you, and you're pretty close to it too, so you really weren't as bad as you were saying you were. But it's okay to bend the knees a little bit just to work on here. And I like to focus on pushing the butt back. Because what we're trying to do for the deadlift, this is really what it's a test for on the strength side. This is my precursor. If you can't touch your toes, I'm not going to have you deadlift anything super heavy, okay? But we want hip hinge, right? So we're training to push our butt backwards. So we're going to try that. Try that for a couple reps there, Alan. So heels on that RX pad, yep. And bring them a little bit closer together, your feet. It's okay, yep. And you can breathe out as you go down. Stand all the way back out. Yep, let's go like 8 reps. There you go, just pulse back up, just once. It's okay. It's okay, I got you. All right, so that's the idea. And then you could do the same thing, challenge it a little bit differently from that perspective. This one's gonna be easier, so I know he's gonna like this one. And then just come back up. Yep, just once, so don't keep pulsing on me. But very good. Give Alan a round of applause, guys. Can anybody touch their toes and that wants to try my deadlift progression? If not, it's okay. You want to try it? Come on up. Okay, so I always start with 2 legs. It's a bit more complicated. Yeah, have you ever deadlifted before?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll just show you first. You can step to the right there. Okay, so first things first, so I'm using 2 yoga blocks. If you were using a bar, the plates would elevate it anyway, so we're not cheating. Some people feel like we're cheating this way, but we're not. Okay, so I always like to stand with the kettlebell between my legs there. I want to feel like you have to reach back, okay? So what I like to coach, we're going to keep the concentration and the balance on our heels more than our toes, okay? So I want you to feel like you're keeping a neutral spine. I like to feel like my chest is being like pushed out. I'm going to breathe in as I go down. Breathe out as I stand up. Keep your chin nice and tucked. You don't want to really raise the head. And just bringing it back there to the kettlebell each time. Let's go like 3 reps there. So stand, so stop. So we're going to stand, remember, with the kettlebell between our legs. Keep going. All my clients do this for the most part because it's up in front here. Okay, very good. So I want you to feel like you're squatting a little bit more with your legs. Okay, yep, breathe out, stand up, drive with your legs. Breathe in as you go down. Very good. Let's do one more. Good form going down, good form. And that's the other thing too. Most of us, right, at home, we're reaching like this. Obviously, we probably already know it's bad for our back, but this is, even me, that habit was ingrained. So I always have to tell my clients, okay, the set's not over until you're back down in a good position, right? This is like, when people say to lift with your legs, that's really what the deadlift position is doing. So you can stay up here. So now, have you done any single leg stuff before?
Yeah, it's a little challenging.
It's okay. So I have a way to scale it. So I just like to give people something to reach for. Okay, in this case, what we're going to do, this is really a single leg RDL, okay? So we're going to line up directly in front of something. I'm just going to move this so this doesn't end up being in your way. Okay, so we're going to reach with the opposite hand. And don't worry, if you can't go down like completely, you don't have to actually touch it. But we're going to reach out, stand back up. I don't want to hear anyone laughing because if you try this, you probably won't have as good of a result as her. Okay, so we'll just go 3 reps there. We'll switch sides. Try that. Switch sides. So I'm going to go on the other side just in case you lose your balance there. And so I didn't preface this. We're going to start with a little bit of a bend in the knee. We don't want to increase the bend. We just want a little bit there. If we're extended too much, the hamstring is going to take over the movement. We want glutes activated here. Let's do one more. Awesome. And then you try the other side there. Let's see if the balance and strength is equal on each side. So you line up directly in line. You're fine. It's going to be the opposite hand, right hand this time. Other hand. You're fine. Don't be sorry. No. Switch the hand, not the leg. Put the leg back, left leg. You're okay. Don't worry. I haven't lost a client yet. One more. Excellent. Round of applause for her. Great job. So if she was able to do that relatively well, I would start scaling in another implement. So I'm just going to do this. I have a heavy kettlebell. I didn't want her to do 25 pounds. She's doing that 2 legs. The only thing that changes for me, I always bring it directly close to my leg at the start. It's still opposite hand inside, okay? Versus reaching out, okay? I lost my balance there a little bit, but that's okay. So that's our deadlift progression there. All right, anybody have like bad balance that they fought through that want us to try? So we have another test for TPI. It's a free TPI moment. It's up to you. Yeah, you want to go again, Alan? I don't think you like this one. We did it together. So okay, so stand over here, Alan. Like where my tape is. So this is the one, if you pass most of the other stuff on the TPI screen, you may or may not feel this. This is pretty challenging. So whatever I tell them to do. So I tell them to practice it. We have to get up to 90 degrees, okay, with eyes open first. The test is going to be eyes closed, and we're balancing. And the thing is, your hands can't go out to really catch your balance. And so just let me get my stopwatch out. So we time it, and we see where you're at. So there's different levels. I'll tell it after, okay? So go ahead when you're ready. You've done it before, so. Hands have to stay down, though. Hands have to stay down. Ah! Go down, try the other leg. It's okay. Try the other leg.
And up or and down?
So hands have to stay down, so because they'll help balance. Yeah. And I've seen much worse than that. You did a pretty good job. Great job.
Are you blind?
I'm not blind. Okay, but actually you can stay here. So what I would do if you're struggling with that balance, okay, we're gonna go back in this direction so most people can see us. Here, watch how Alan's moving. So I'm just getting tension here. So this is one of my specialty items here. You'd have to work one-on-one to actually use this implement, but we're standing here and we're holding. So now that weight wants to pull us there and we're fighting to stabilize. Try that, Alan. Pull those down to your side. One leg up just like you did on the test. All the way down to your side with the band. There you go. And then I would time him. I'd try to work up time similar to like a plank. Perfect. Very good, Alan. Good job. Give a round of applause, everybody. That's one way we can work on that, but like working in those single leg Romanian deadlifts is something else that I implement for just about everybody. So in terms of sets, reps, and frequency, this really depends on the individual. So it's hard to like give a solid recommendation that's going to be great for everybody. But in general, any workout program, I'm really recommending 2 to 3 sets, 8 to 12 reps, 2 to 3 workouts per week. But just a question for everybody. Who here is going to be golfing 0 to 10 times this year? Okay, we got a couple. 10 to 20? Okay. 20 to 30? Okay. Closer to 50? Hey, the hands are still up. I like it. That's what I'm shooting for. Close to 70. Okay, we got one person. Less than 100. Well, everyone could be less, obviously, but close to 100. I had somebody told me they're getting more than 100 rounds of golf. My first thought was, I want your life. That sounds like a great life. But yeah, so for those people who are golfing more, like at 50 rounds a year, for me, I'm going to be trying to get 1 or 2 rounds a week, at least 2 if I can, right? That's going to get me close to that number if there's 26 weeks in the season. But if I'm playing twice a week, my workouts are definitely going to change in season, right? So if you're golfing once a week or less than once a week, you probably have the ability to keep incorporating some strength elements without that impacting your play, right? So that's something that's good, but it's different for everybody. So key number 4 for us is power. If strength is the engine, think of power as the demonstration of that, right? You can have a V8, but the V8 could be a diesel van, right? So that's much different than having a V8 Dodge Charger, right? So these are different like aspects here. Once strength is developed, the power needs to actually be trained. So here's a video of a gorgeous man in 2022, that's me. I'm gonna go back here. Okay, so who here's used a TrackMan before? Couple people. Okay, so more than a couple. All right, so if you look over here and try to not stand in the way, we got Klub speed, okay? So 95, 91. Now I was working on some like swing fundamentals there, so I wasn't swinging as hard as I could for that time. I was definitely less than 100 miles an hour back then, but this man that you see in the video may or may not could lift more than I can now, and you compare that to this past season in the off season. So I got up there 116.7. So over 20 miles an hour difference there, right? And the big difference is once I have the strength, even if I'm doing less strength work now, I'm incorporating power, right? So you have to actually like train for that in order to get that transfer. I have the engine to do it, but I need to make sure I have the ability to do it. And here, just because somebody asked me the difference between an iron swing and a driver swing, so if you look over here, you see my attack angle is 0.3. So this is actually a different shaft, so some of that influences it too. But I had 316 total. And the other fast swing, I was like 280, somewhere around there, 290 maybe. But that was my max PR so far. But this attack angle is almost like even. The other one, my attack angle was 2 or 3 degrees down. So that attributes to one of the reasons why I had more distance on this drive. So in general, driver you want to try to hit more up on versus your irons are more down. So even that, it's going to be different based on somebody else. Anyone top a drive here before? Oh, come on. Everyone's topped one. There's 50 liars in this room. Okay, so if you're topping a drive, that's usually you're swinging 2 up and you're hitting the bottom of the club. So that's usually, and that's why it will go nowhere. So if you're doing that, I don't want you to hit more up on it. This is one of the reasons why it's good to see a golf pro. So don't take my advice if you're there and then get mad at me. I'm just explaining the difference in general. Okay, so for power exercises should be performed at the beginning of the workout. So after your mobility routine, before you do your other strength work, because you want the full energy that your body has to offer it. Similar concept, 2 to 3 sets. The difference here is we want to be 5 reps because we have a limited amount of energy for this type of training where you're like, if you go past a certain amount of time, it's usually somewhere between 5 and 20 seconds, you're not doing power anymore because you're getting fatigued, right? So you're not able to explode anymore. Okay, so here we have a version of the chop and lift that we were talking about with core. So you can watch how he's doing it. So he's doing more of a dynamic version. I'll show you here in a minute how I kind of like to scale that with some of my clients. But you can see him he's really incorporating power here. He's exploding. So if you're going to do something like this, definitely make sure you start light and you can maintain the weight back. I don't want to see anyone slamming the weights here. But what I like to do to work with clients on that one, I like to go in a kneeling position. Maybe some of you have seen me out here. I do this often. So I'll use a cable machine. So I like to grab a tricep rope if I don't have it. I just have this band here for your demonstration purpose. So I cue them to pull towards the chest and down and out. So I get them used to this motion first, right? We don't want to build on dysfunction. So you want to make sure you can do the movement before you start exploding. Once you have that down, you can keep the hand close, do more of like an explosive movement, and then you can get more dynamic, more like the golf swing, working on the power aspect. Sorry, hopefully I didn't whip your knee there. But those are some great ways to kind of scale that. One of my other favorites to do is something like a box jump, really jumping up as high as you can onto something. But as an example, maybe some of you, if you did that, you wouldn't be golfing for a couple of years, right? So just like as an example, if you felt like you didn't have the ability to do something like that, we could use like an aerobic step. We can just step up, start slower, build up speed, and then you can go scale that to your ability level, right? There's always ways to progress or regress things according to, remember, the most efficient swing that you can physically do. Losing my breath there after those box jumps. So this is just the chop version. So he was doing a lift. I should have prefaced. I just don't have an attachment to show, but it's the same and equal opposite motion there. So key number 5 is mechanics. Even if you've trained well, you still need to know how to swing properly. So there's certain drills and exercises that can help you feel a good swing. And this part is ongoing. You'll see torque players, right? They're always on the range. They got some weird things sometimes to like try to feel what they're trying to do in their golf swing. Anyone want to come up and demonstrate with me a couple of those? It's okay if not, I can do them. So one of the favorites that I like to feel things. So one of the things that, just as an example here. I'm not going to do a full swing, but one of the things that people really struggle with, you don't have the range to turn properly. What are you going to do? Your arms are going to take over. You're going to come out this way, right? So we like to feel like we're staying in the barrel, we're rotating as far as we can without the weight getting on the outside of the foot. What I like to do to work on that, to kind of work on that feel, is even myself, this year I've struggled with turning too much because I was really trying to optimize my drive. We can use a band on each foot, and we're going to go almost like a row, but we're rotating our shoulders with it as well. We're exploding into the other leg. Okay? So that's one I like to do. And another one of these specialty items I mentioned. Actually, I forgot my hook was up here for this band, but it's okay. I'm just going to use a chair. So this was super helpful to get me to feel this. And again, you wouldn't have to work with me directly to try this out, but this was an awesome feel. So we're going to loop this around our shoulder. We're going to turn through. And remember, for me, this is actually the opposite. So this would be like a lefty swing. But now it wants to pull me that way, right? So if I turn too much this way, I'm going to lose the tension here. So this is a great cue to feel I'm turning, exploding through. And again, we can scale it to you. Go at the speed that you're comfortable, but I'm fighting to maintain my posture. And it's going to pull me there if I don't. Turning through, getting full rotation on that hip. That's one of the specialty things that I have that's been really helpful in my own swing.
What would you suggest, what machine would you suggest to
So there's really not much that replicates that perfectly, but what you could do is like the chop and the lift versions, you're still fighting to like kind of have that same position with your core. You can hold on to something even if you're here, but the benefit there is you don't have to hold it with your hands because that's getting outside your body a little bit. Yeah, even just holding like a single cable machine, right? Like just your typical handle and trying to feel that same thing I talked about. It's just, I can tell you doing them myself, I haven't felt it the way like I have, so I don't want to lie to you and say you can do the same exact thing, but you just do the best with what you can, right? So, all right, so those are the swing feel exercises I just demonstrated there. And that's all I had for you. Now we're going to go into a period of questions and answers. Any questions about anything? Wow, I thought everybody would be jumping me. Okay. Nothing at all? Okay, yep, go ahead.
Okay, as you get older, your swing speed diminishes.
Yep.
So what would be sort of the key exercise to maintain your swing speed?
Yeah, so again, there's common denominators, right? And then there's more specifics, right? So in general, as we age, we want to make sure we're getting what's called, like you're getting weight-bearing exercise. Spacing there for a second. We want weight-bearing. So an example, a squat. I'm always going to have people try a squat versus a leg press right away because you're going to be weight-bearing, even if it's scaled back. But those chop and like, so my two favorite exercises for everybody as a golfer is that single leg Romanian deadlift. So I'm doing a reach, but you can do it with the dumbbell. And those chop and lift variations because you're working on the important like movements that apply to the golf swing. But then it's also, so we have two options in terms of training and power efficiency, right? We can grow more muscle fibers or we can activate more. Those are really the two only options. So, and especially if we're not golfing like 50 rounds a year, if it's more closer to 10, like then I'm probably going to have that golfer on more of like a regular routine. They're probably going to have the most benefit from having like a long-term strength plan. And there's different ways to measure, okay, where are we weak like in our strength training and what's kind of limiting us? I'd have to know you personally to be able to answer that properly, but that's the gist there. That's a good question. Anybody else? Yes?
What's a good stretching routine before you start to golf?
It's just like the same thing I threw out there. So like, were you here for the first portion there with the mobility section?
Before you start around, you go to the course.
You're at the course already? Yeah, so I mean, it depends too, like what kind of facility do you have? Do you have anything where you can go inside or are you like on the first tee on the practice green? Yeah, so like I mentioned before, I'll show you again. If I had nothing else and like my only option is jump out and golf or do something, I like to do this lunge, okay? So you're on the grass, right? You can put your towel down, something to pad that back knee. Here it's a hardwood floor. The grass might be soft enough for you. We're gonna reach and you might not be able to get low. Me, as I go and I pump with my elbow, try to go down towards my ankle. You're just going as low as you can. So each time you can notice I'm getting a little bit further and further. Here we're working on hips and we're doing a little bit of like upper body. That's more dynamic than a stretch, but you could also hold that stretch. It's just like a standard hip flexor stretch for 30 seconds. Those 90-90s are great to do. Again, some of these you might get a side eye from people in the course, but if you don't care, then that's a great thing to do there.
Excuse me, are you doing that stretch just the side that you golf on? Or
No, both sides. Yeah, like I said, you want to do both sides. That was just for demonstration purposes. Great question, though. Anybody else? Yes, sir.
What if you have a driving range facility? Is there any specific drills prior to playing on the driving range?
Same thing. I mean, we really want to activate, right? So you could do like these like feels here that I showed you with the bands where you're really getting a feel for staying in the barrel, so to speak, right? I like these. You can even do that with one foot. So if you do just your backside, then it kind of like you feel, because you're releasing the band, you just feel your hips naturally have that like power to turn through. I like doing those two things like from an activation standpoint. But if I'm going to the range, I'm doing the same thing. I'm going to foam roll. I'm going to do, like, it depends on how much time I have. I've gone without doing it. Definitely a noticeable difference between doing something versus nothing. But there's those same principles. Find what works for you and implement it.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
from the perspective of you're on the range,
Uh-huh.
looking in front of you, do you work the short irons first, the long irons, or do you have a certain approach?
Me personally? Well, so I can talk about me personally versus, and it's not necessarily going to work for you, and this goes into like, what pro you're working with and what kind of recommendations they have there. I can tell you, I like to go feet together, I got like a 9-iron, a 50-degree wedge. I'm just trying to feel connected before I start going to full swings. This winter on the simulator, it's using a 9-iron, little half swings. And I'm not concerned about distance. It's a good like knockdown to practice, but work into like 3/4. And then I might do some of the drills that my pro gave me that are like, I'm working on before I go in. And then it's going to depend. There's going to be sometimes I'm going to the range, I'm going to work on something specific I'm trying to change. Sometimes I'm just trying to like kind of see where I'm at. It could be just a warm up before I'm playing. Before I'm playing, I'm not really concerned. I'm just getting loose, right? So I'm going to look at what I'm doing, but honestly, some of my worst range sessions before I've played have been some of the best rounds I've played. So anyway, that's the best way I can answer that. Yes, you?
Just a follow-up that.
Yeah.
That exercise you just showed with the bands,
Mm-hmm.
is there equal tension bands or do you use like?
So those are just like, it really, so these are lighter for sure. You can even, here, if you can feel them if you want. These are just very light. And I grabbed one just so I could have 2 from the other room.
Okay.
So yeah, you
It's
can.
okay if they're the same, or do you need one?
Yeah, no. Yeah, so you'll feel the difference if they're too far away. I couldn't tell you much of the difference between these two as an example, but I definitely don't need like a medium or a heavy resistance myself. So most people it's going to be lighter. Great question. Anybody else? Yes.
So my lower disc issue, one side is weaker than the other.
Okay.
So we demonstrated with the balance.
Mm-hmm.
What to work on to strengthen.
Yeah, so I'd really have to see like how else that applied to you personally. Like I don't want to give you an answer here that really like hurts you. So I would have to know more, especially when you have more specific injuries. I have to fill in the full picture because even that you mentioned that might be the biggest injury you had. Maybe you had a shoulder, and I'm not saying you do, but maybe you had a shoulder thing too. So obviously that's going to dictate my response there. But I would have to know more personally there. But in general, you definitely like I said, if you had some kind of disc issues, like definitely be very cautious about deadlift progressions and stuff. I have had clients in my 80s that I've still had deadlift to a certain scale, right? So I'm not like, they're not going to deadlift 200 pounds, but most of us, if we're going, right, everyone's going to the grocery store, you have to pick up groceries. So there's a level that could be okay, but it's always, if you feel sharp pain, feel anything that you notice when you're trying things, back off. Like we're going to do more harm at a certain point. That's my rule of thumb there, but good question though. Yes, you?
You had a knee replacement, not me.
Yeah.
You can't knee.
May or may not be the gentleman to your left. Your significant other. Yeah, no, so same concept. So like as an example, I have a handful of clients that have had knee replacements. Some people that have knee replacements, like you wouldn't be able to tell. Some people it's different, right? So it's like, it depends how long ago it was, what kind of like protocol they followed with their physios and their doctors. And it depends on what I see, right? So I'm always going to scale things. Like I do the physical, like if someone's interested in that TPI, we're going to do that with them. And I work through those things. And they tell me that from the start, but like, as we see, yeah, okay, I'm not going to have them be doing box jumps. I can tell you that right away, right? So, but there's ways to scale that. And there's still, like, even then, like over time, like usually when there's a more significant injury, I like to build like even more of a solid foundation before I start jumping into power for sure. But yeah, another case of like, I'd have to know a little bit more personal details there and see it like in real time. But good question though. Anybody else? Okay, and I'll be hanging around a little bit if you had like other questions for me. But can everybody give a round of applause to Stephanie, Arash, Petty for putting this on? Nora too for coming in. Everybody at the front desk, there's a lot that went behind the scenes. So I appreciate your time, everybody, and have a great day. I hope you guys have a great golf season.